Yo, what up, a-holes? Thank you for tuning in to the Holistic A-Hole podcast. My name is Eric Levi, and I'm the Holistic A-Hole, the mommy blogger with balls, the inconvenient truth of health. How's it going? Thank you so much for tuning into this exciting episode where I got my good friend Carolyn Marotta on, who is she is an NTP, a nutritional therapy practitioner, a nutritional therapist. She runs a program through the Restart program, which deals with sugar cravings and toxicity and digestion, and most notably, she's also a farmer. She runs her own Beyond Organic farm. So we talk about all that, but we do focus a lot on the farming stuff. This is something that, oddly enough, I'm actually very interested in, the farming of America. What has happened to farming? What is farming anymore? You know, like, since I've really gotten into nutrition and food, I've also really become interested about the sourcing of the food. Where does it come from? How is it grown and made? And it's something now that I'm finding the beginnings of, the beginning rumblings of this becoming an actual thing with, you know, people wanting to be farmers. You know, you got people like, you know, the guest today, Carolyn, who was just fed up with the food supply. And she just wanted to grow her own food. And her and her husband figured it out, and they started a fucking farm, which is awesome. You know, like, we think of farmers as like, man, like the 1930s, you know, that old picture of like the farmer guy and the wife, and, you know, they got the rake or whatever that thing is, plow. But farming's legit, bro. And more and more people are doing it. More and more people are starting even just like local organic farms, you know, co-ops, all these cool things, because we're sick of the food supply. We're sick of Monsanto. We're sick of the GMO. We're sick of the pesticides. So the more people that can go out and farm and actually grow food and treat the soil right and grow the right food that's not devoid of nutrients. I mean, this is such a cornerstone of health and the public health crisis that we can't talk about. You know, the mainstream media is literally hamstrung. They cannot talk about criticizing the food industry because they're funded by the food industry. The food industry is enormous. Think about it. We eat all the food every single day. And, you know, the truth is there's not a lot of people who run the food industry. And there's a lot of corruption and a lot of sliminess. But then you get people like you know, like Carolyn, who go out and they say, no, we're gonna make food. And even though, I mean, yeah, they don't have the reach of a big food company, you know, they're gonna grow real nutrient food and they're gonna sell it to the market. They're gonna sell it in the farmer's market. So, you know, I hope you guys enjoy this podcast coming up. Go out and support your local farmers market, because the more that we can support them, the more they can make this possible, you know? And I know sometimes these farmers markets, they're inconvenient. They can be expensive. You know, you don't got to buy all the stuff. Just go with a budget. Just be like, I'm going to spend $30 here at the farmers market. And, you know, it's going to be the best $30 you're going to spend. You're going to get good quality veggies and meats and all that stuff. Man, I'm not making any commission off this either. Can you believe it? I just believe that much in the fact that, look, a-holes, you should be eating good food. I truly believe that. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast with Carolyn. By the way, make sure you check the Holistic A-Hole out on all the social mediums, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all Holistic A-Hole. Let me know what you think of the episode. You know, shoot me a tweet, shoot me an Instagram. Make sure you go join on Facebook, the Holistic A-Holes Facebook group. And look, if you haven't done this already, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. We're in October now, and we're doing this every single day, so don't miss a day of the Holistic A-Hole podcast. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast with Carolyn, and I'll catch you on the next one. All right. All right, what up, a-holes? So we are here in lovely Philadelphia. I got my good friend Carolyn Marotta here of Dreamland Farms, and she is a beyond organic farmer. And the reason I wanted to have you on today, Carolyn, is because I find not just your story, but just the idea of farming in 2018 to be so interesting and so cool. Because as my time as being, a holistic a-hole and trying to be, find the best quality food, it just gets more and more and more impossible. And yet now there's like this movement of people who are, I don't know if you came from a city or the suburbs, but it's happening where it's like people are leaving the city now and they're going back to the farm.
Totally.
And because we're just sick of it, right? We're sick of the food supply. Like we're sick of going into the store and being like, oh, I don't even know what is GMO free and what is organic and what does that even mean? So I was hoping you could talk a little bit about like what you do as a farmer, what this idea of beyond organic farming is, and what you think of this whole process of how you fit into the overall landscape. I know it's a lot to deal with, but just
it's a lot. That's a lot of questions.
That's a lot of questions.
But no, just to go back to one point that you just made, the reason why we moved was because we lived in a burrow and we had a fully fenced-in backyard, plenty of room for chickens, but our burrow wouldn't allow us to have chickens on our property.
But this is a burrow where?
In the suburbs of Philadelphia.
Okay.
So we couldn't get chickens despite my husband harassing the code guy at the township office. So it's not the main reason we moved, but it was one of our motivating factors because we just couldn't have a backyard, homestead, even in a burrow where really what are chickens going to disrupt in a neighborhood? Not a whole lot. So we decided we wanted to start looking for property. And so we found this perfect property, and the previous owners had named it Dreamland. So when we got there, we drove up this private driveway. There was a big sign that said Dreamland, and we just knew that this was going to be the place we were going to start a farm.
And so why a farm? Why did you want chickens in the first place? Does this have something to do with you becoming a nutritional therapist?
Yeah, totally. So I became an NTP, I think, a lot of the same reasons why other NTPs become NTPs, because we just get sick of getting advice that doesn't work when it comes to nutrition and health. So I changed my diet, noticed a lot of improvements with my skin, with my mental clarity, with my mood, my blood sugar balance. So basically that impacts everything. My husband lost a bunch of weight. We started just doing a ton of research and understanding that our food supply is really screwed up and there's a lot of junk in our food, and there's not only a lot of junk in our processed food, there's a lot of junk in our farming practices. So we didn't want to support farmers who are raising chickens, so eggs, chickens in factories inside that never saw the light of day, feeding them a vegetarian diet, which is not a natural diet for chickens. And makes an inferior egg. So by that, I mean a less nutritious egg. So we really just wanted chickens so that we could have really nutritious eggs for us and our kids. And so that's a big motivator. And that's one reason why I got into being an NTP, because we noticed the benefit and from just eating real food and wanting to get closer to where our food comes from.
So your own personal journey, like you said, like a lot of people come to this organization and learn about nutritional therapy because you've probably dealt with some health issue.
Yeah.
And what was that for you, if you want to share?
Yeah, totally. So for me, I have had a lifetime of eczema that nothing could clear up. And I think I was also, of the mindset that I had a lot of symptoms that were normal. I had PMS, I had acid reflux, I constantly carried around Tums and, like other medications in my purse for my digestive system. And I did a 30-day reset, and all of a sudden I didn't need any of that, and I didn't have PMS, and I just felt really good. It was kind of like a wake-up call, like all of these normal common symptoms aren't actually normal. They're common because they're normal because they're common, but they're not normal. That's not how the body should be. So that was a wake-up call for me. I remember we did a 30-day like primal diet, and after 30 days, we're like, what would happen if we just had a hamburger with a bun with some gluten?
Yeah.
And the next day I broke out in like my eczema flared again.
So crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy, because I actually had kind of an experience like this weekend, actually. So like I've heard these stories, right, of like people who have these health problems and then they do some diet, whatever it is. It don't have to, it could be paleo, it could be keto, it could even be vegan, whatever it is, and then go back and just have a little bit, just like one day, you're like, let me see what it's like to have a burger with a bun. And then like in my case, I've in the last couple months done more paleo. I was a vegan for a while, and then I was like, well, you know, I'll try this paleo thing. I'll add more good fats, you know, because I'm learning about fats and the benefits of good, you know, grass-fed meats and all this stuff. So I've been doing that more and more and more, to the point now where I'm like, I want more fat, I want more meat. But then the other day I was like, there's this really good restaurant, I'm not going to say who they are, here in Philly, and it's all vegetarian. And I was like, let me swing by there and grab some veggies. So I got like a yam stuffed with like quinoa and beans and avocado. And I ate that, and I felt so bad for the rest of that day. It was like brain fog. I hadn't hit this brain fog for a while. I mean, just bloating and just all that stuff.
But people think that's like okay because it just happens all the time.
Right. And that's I mean, any American, it's like that's just a normal part of life.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up like that. You probably did, where it was like you're just gonna feel full and gross after a meal.
Right.
No matter, even if it's like vegetables, even if it's like sweet potato or something that's supposed to be good.
Or just cereal. Everyone has cereal in the morning.
Yeah, because we've all been raised on that stuff. So even if we do try to eat the healthy stuff, it's like you can't, your body doesn't know what to do. It's like, oh my God, healthy stuff. It's like good meats, good fat. I don't know what this is.
Right.
Vegetables, this is supposed to be good, and it's like the gut just like explodes inside your intestines. So that, I mean, that's interesting because, you know, a lot of people, I mean, they search for years just trying to find like, oh my God, I'm doing the GAPS diet, I'm doing this diet, I'm doing that, like chronic diet. Or, you know what I mean? But you were like, no, we're gonna just totally, we're gonna grow our own good stuff. That I think that's so cool. Was it like a lot that you had to sacrifice to make that happen?
Yeah, not really. I mean, we always had like a huge backyard garden because we liked to grow our own vegetables, and I know that, you know, just for instance, shipping spinach from California. I live in Pennsylvania, so shipping spinach from California to Pennsylvania, I'm probably not going to get the most nutritious spinach because it's not going to be very fresh, right? So I just wanted to grow food. We grew food in our backyard in the borough we were living in for a long time. We grew a lot of vegetables. And I knew that if I could pick the spinach up out of the garden and bring it into the kitchen, that's going to be a lot more nutrient dense. So when spinach travels long distances, you know, it loses a lot of vitamin C. Broccoli, I think you harvest broccoli and like right away it's 50% vitamin C loss.
That's crazy.
You want to get fresh vegetables so that you can, you know, locally sourced, recently harvested vegetables are the best, the most nutrient dense vegetables you can possibly find. So I forget your question now, but why we wanted to grow our food was for that reason, because it would be the most nutrient dense. And also, you know, in conventional farming and even organic practices, they still use sprays. They still spray their crops with stuff. You can't avoid it. There's a lot of loopholes. Anytime you put a certification on something, you know, the organic certification, people figure out how to do it the cheapest way possible. So I don't even trust 100% organic farming.
I don't either.
I trust my farmer. I want to know my farmer, and I want to know, you know, what their practices are, and then trust that.
Yeah, this is a thing I've been saying forever, and it's like, you know, when you walk around a store and, you know, in New York, it's like there's all these organic bodegas, right? So like the corner deli that you walk in and there's like Doritos and chips and like there's like a little counter where you can just order, you know, I mean, like nitrate ridden, you know, deli meats on top of white bread. Even though that stuff's delicious, where's the organic, right? And now it's just like a thing. You can go to like organic dry cleaners, you know what I mean? And it's to me, like, just because I have like that scam siren in my head, you know, that goes off, and it, like, anytime like I feel like someone's trying to take me for a ride, and that's what I feel when I see organic. And it drives me crazy when I listen to health bloggers and YouTubers and, oh, buy organic, and it's like, that's such like an umbrella, unspecified term that means nothing, especially if you walk through a store and they've got like organic avocados. That you can't make those organic, you know? It's like the Dirty Dozen, the Clean 15, like but they know people don't know. They know people don't know the research. Most people, they go to their whatever doctor, maybe they get a nutritionist or a personal trainer, and they're like, eat organic, okay, and they spend, you know, $40 more on vegetables that will probably go bad before they even get a chance to eat them. And it's just, it's just a racket.
Yeah. And anytime, you know, my scam alarm goes off anytime something gets really big, right? So big conventional organic farmers, how do they make money on these giant farms without doing some loopholes? So why we really kind of got into farming or one of the other reasons we got into farming is that we just know there's this big trend in people going from corporate jobs to farming. Actually, a lot of computer programmers. My husband's a computer programmer. So when you're a systems person and you can figure out how to make a system out of a farm, you can do it really efficiently and make a ton of money doing it. So that, in addition to the fact that I think the average age of the American farmer is like somewhere in the 60s.
Yes.
So we're losing a ton of people that know what they're doing. Hopefully they have some successors, but also the solution to this problem of organic is with local small farmers, small scale farmers. That's what I'm getting at. When it gets too big, it's not beneficial anymore. And I think the organic certification is a good start, but it's becoming not as good as it should be.
But do you find any like pushback then that you and like just almost impossible hoops that I don't know, the state or the county makes you jump through to make this happen? Because I feel like, even though I don't want to like throw the conspiracy theory thing out there and be suspicious of everybody, I feel like it's not happening, what you just said, more people moving out and starting their own farms to create more local farms, because I feel like you have to the paperwork involved and the bureaucracy involved makes it so difficult.
I mean, starting the farm we started was simple. We just had to cut down some trees and make a field. Creating that business was really easy in our town. Becoming certified organic can be really complicated depending on the scale of the farm. So when we started looking into getting our farm certified organic, there's of course a ton of stipulations, but we have a really small scale right now. It's only like a quarter of an acre market farm. And so to get certified, it wouldn't be that complicated for us. But if I had 200 acres and we got this land from a previous farm that was farming conventionally and spraying a lot of crap on the ground, then there's a whole other process that comes in place there. So it can be really complicated, but to start a farm, it's just a lot of elbow grease.
Yeah.
And a lot of back breaking work, you know?
Yeah, which we don't want to do.
Exactly.
Unless we can hire somebody to do it, then yeah, there you go.
You just have to want it.
What about like this issue of soil, right? Because I hear this a lot, you know, where it's like, oh, like the nutrient content of an apple is like 50% less of what it was like 50 years ago. Is that a true thing?
Absolutely. Yeah, it totally is.
And why is that?
Because we over farm the same crops on the same fields all the time. So in nature, you have diversity. You have, well, first of all, we don't spray chemicals on, a tree in the woods because it's in its natural environment. In the farming practices that we're doing in permaculture farming, we let the crops stay in the roots, stay in the ground. We're not pulling roots out. We're letting all that that nutrition stay in the ground, and we're not tilling the soil. So we're not turning things over and releasing carbon into the air. We're allowing a really rich microbial diversity that doesn't happen in conventional farming. So yeah, like a conventional apple is not going to be as nutritious anymore. We've over farmed. Our soil is eroding. We don't have as much soil, and the way that we practice farming with monocultures is depleting the soil.
So how do you then protect your crops from the things that the farmers have invented all this technology for, like the pesticides, the GMOs? Because you're going to deal with the weeds, right? You're going to deal with the bugs. What do your farming practices do to make sure that you deal with that?
So we don't spray anything, and we're still learning. We're in our first year of farming, but we don't spray anything. We use integrative pest management. So we try to plant as many flowers and that will attract insects that will help kill any threats around the farm. So that's one way to do it. Crop covers, again, it's a lot more labor intensive, but sometimes we have to lose a crop because we just, it got the pests took it over. We do use some diatomaceous earth spray sometimes. So there are some things that we do, but that's it. I mean, it's like we just hope that that nature is going to cooperate with us. But we do have some things that we can tap into. And then just make sure that we're out there clearing it up. With permaculture farming too, over time, weeding becomes less and less of a concern. So that's also a benefit.
So what is the difference then between, you keep saying permaculture, what exactly is that, and what does that have to do with, like, because you said you have a beyond organic farm, which is crazy to me, right? Because we've got this thing where like organic is the best, and now you're like, no, it's beyond organic, and I feel like in 5 years it's gonna be like beyond organic, and it's just, we're gonna be here in 2050, like, is that apple beyond organic? No, it's just beyond organic. Well, I can't touch it then. That'll fire up my IBS. I can't touch that thing.
It's B5 organic. So that term beyond organic was coined by Joel Salatin, who owns Polyface Farms in Virginia. And I think the term came about because the organic certification sucks. It doesn't really help us totally right now. It's not answering all the questions. We're organic, that certification doesn't really help explain exactly what that farmer's doing 100% of the time. So I forgot your question.
What is permaculture?
What is permaculture?
Yeah.
So permaculture and beyond organic is using the land. So as I mentioned, we plant a crop, say we plant kale. When that kale crop is done, we cut the kale at the root, at the base of the plant, and take that material and throw it in the compost pile so that decomposes and then is added back to the soil later. But then we just add a layer of compost on top of those kale roots and plant our next row of seeds. So the permaculture aspect of it is that we're taking as little as we can out of the soil and only adding to it. And so what that does is it creates a really diverse, a really rich, mineral-rich soil, so and probiotic-rich soil, so that the plants are able to, their roots are able to go deeper into the ground. When you pull one of our beets out of the beet bed, you can see a 6-inch long taproot. The root of the beet is able to get deeper and deeper into the earth and find more nutrition. That's where the nutrients are, right? The deeper they go, the more nutrients they can grab up. So those are a couple of the distinguishing factors with permaculture.
So at what point did this change then, where it was like it went from being like what you do to like what it is now, where they just were like, whatever, we just got to get the crops out of the ground. Who cares about making sure that it has nutrients in it? Has that always been a thing? Has it been trending that way for a long time? Or is this just like a thing that's popped up like in the last, 20, 30 years?
Has permaculture like organic?
No, the opposite of that. The way that they've just completely destroyed the soil.
Yeah, I think it's just there's a lot of people to feed.
Yeah.
And there was a time where we were, and we still do, we supplement farmers growing corn and soy and wheat. And without those subsidies, they wouldn't actually be able to manage they wouldn't make any money. So I think it's part political and part the fact that there's a lot of people to feed and people want cheap food, and those crops are really cheap.
Mm-hmm. And then you also get like the subsidies coming in and things like that, which you guys don't see any of.
No,
I'd imagine.
we don't get that. Yeah.
But to do that, that's like basically, from the little I understand of that, it's like Monsanto or whatever, or the government sending a check to a farmer, and then isn't it like they tell them to not grow stuff with that check, or they tell them like, here's all the seeds to put that stuff in the ground and just get it out as quickly as possible?
Yeah, no, I think I don't, that might be a little bit mixed up there, but I think it's the farmers that are, you have 5,000 acres or 500 acres of corn that you're growing. The government will pay you, give you a subsidy to grow that corn, whether that corn's GMO from Monsanto or organic corn. I don't know if it makes a difference in the amount of the subsidy, but that product is not very expensive. I don't remember the exact numbers. So per acre, the farmer's not making a ton of money when they're actually selling it. The only thing that's keeping them afloat is the subsidy from the government.
Nice. Yeah, good. It's just the worst. It's like, anytime you have to rely on the government to pay your rent, it's something wrong is not
Not
something
good.
wrong is good. So before I wrap up, I know you're a nutritional therapist. You have your own practice.
Mm-hmm.
You were mentioning you do a specific program.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Like what exactly like your practice entails, who you take on as clients, kind of just a rough idea of like what you do specifically or what you focus on.
Yeah. So as an NTP, my focus is on folks that need help with blood sugar regulation. So that could be anything from, folks that are having trouble managing their diet. They are anxious. They are having energy problems. Maybe they want to just need someone to help them with their approach to nutrition. So through that, I do teach a 5-week nutrition education with a 21-day sugar detox built into it. So it's the Restart program. I offer that class online, but I also teach it at Dreamland Farmstead for local clients. And folks can learn about that on my website. It's ancestralapproach.com. Or you can find me on Instagram at Carolyns Ancestral Approach.
Yeah, check her out, guys. If you need to get your blood sugar in check, and this doesn't mean like you have diabetes per se, but it could be anything from it could be skin issues, it could be sleep problems, it could be digestion, it could be it's just any problem you have. I'm finding it's like you can link it to digestion, you can link it to the sugar handling.
Yep.
And especially if you don't have the time to, I guess, go to like a in-person workshop, or maybe you're like in another part of the country, check out Carolyn's site, and you could do this all online.
Yep.
And I tell you, anytime you learn from an NTP, you're going to see improvement. And let the weight stuff go. You're going to lose weight without a doubt. So if that's like your concern,
it's a happy bonus.
It really is. I find that's like more like the side effect of this stuff.
That's exactly what I tell people, that you most likely will, but you have to get healthy in order to lose weight.
Yeah.
And so that's what I help people do.
Yeah. And you'll get some dope beets. You'll get beets. You'll get kale. You'll get
some spicy mix.
With all the nutrition too. You're not gonna get this nutrient devoid, green, fluffy, facade of what kale used to be. You're gonna get the real deal.
Yeah.
So this was fun. I hope you
so fun.
I had
Thank
a great
you.
time chatting. And again, go check out Carolyn's website,
ancestralapproach.com.
ancestralapproach.com, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much, Carolyn.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
All right. Yes. So we did it, right? That was awesome. Learning about farming, organic farming, beyond organic farming. We really got on some really interesting topics. I wish we had more time. Unfortunately, we were under a time constraint for this interview, but I'll definitely have Carolyn back on to talk some more about this. I might even go to the farm myself and go pick up some arugula. I don't know if she said she has bacon. Maybe I'll get some bacon. Yeah, go to the farmer's market. Support your farmers. They're the ones doing the real work. these like CAFO farmers, these industrial agriculture, they're not farmers. They're employees for a company, and they don't actually farm. They just dump things into things. They drive tractors, but they're not farmers. You know, I guess maybe that makes you a farmer if you drive a tractor. But they're really not farming. They're just working for the government or a big corporation, and you know, it's a union job. So support your local farmers. They need it. We need to grow local farms to be an even bigger thing. It can't be this hard to get good quality food. So also go check out Carolyn on all of her websites. Check out her Restart program if you're looking for a really good, not weight loss program, but just program that will, you know, focus on your holistic health, that can give you some real actionable goals, be supported by a real nutritional therapist. Make sure you go check that out. That is Carolyns Ancestral Approach. Oh no, that's her Instagram. Check out ancestralapproach.com or check out Carolyn's Instagram, Carolyns Ancestral Approach. Let her know what you think. Let her know you enjoyed the podcast. And if you did enjoy the podcast, again, make sure you subscribe and leave a nice review on iTunes. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, everybody. Peace.